You may have heard about CityWorks Expo. For years now, we've been bringing people together to share big ideas for better places. Expo connects innovators across the community and around the globe through an ongoing series of events, conferences, and social media. And our goal is to inspire and support people like you, the ones who have a passion for making their neighborhoods, communities, and cities better places to live, work, and play. Check us out at cityworksxpo.com to learn more. Become a part of the Expo community and share your story. You never know who you will inspire with your big ideas.
Hi.
Good morning. Alex is a copycat.
And my friend Michael steals.
And we're here to do three things. The first of which is to encourage you guys to copy. We want to advocate for copying. And not because we want a lot of things that are all the same. We want you guys to copy in order to create. Because we're going to argue that copying is actually a creative act.
And then we want to get out of the way so that you can start this now right here at CityWorks.
So, Americans make movies. That's a thing that we do. When we're making movies back a couple decades ago.
That's correct. We're making movies. We're turning the crank.
And they seem great. And some guys from France come on over and they see our movies.
Wow. Look at these American movies. These are incredible. They're profound. They're beautiful. I'm going to take this.
Oh, okay. And the Americans...
And I'm going to paddle back to France now.
Yeah. And the Americans were like, we're going to go over to France, and what is that? That is an incredible movie. That's great. That is some awesome French film. Guys, check out this French film.
No. This is American film.
No, that's very nice. It's great. It's not French film. It's American. It's French film. We're going to take it. We're bringing it back to America.
Okay.
And so that's how film noir came to be. That's our understanding of it, at least. There's some film, and it started in America, and French people copied it. And when they copied it, you had new artists with new paintbrushes on a new canvas, and so they created something new. And Americans saw that, and they copied it back. So A to B to A, or A to F to A, and those two A's were different, copying as an act of creation. And this happens in cities, too. So I'm from a hip progressive gem of the South, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Yeah. And we were going up there, and we went up to Nashville one day. We wanted to check out their form-based code, because we believe in a really vibrant city space. And we walk in there, and we see it's like a grocery store, right, for folks who want to get a land permit. There's an A aisle for dairy and a B aisle for your produce and a C aisle for your packaged goods, except instead, it's for A is for your sewage, and B is for your historic zoning review, and C is for plans review, right? And they made it really easy to get a permit in the city of Nashville. And they're unlocking all this development. We said, wow, this is really awesome. We want to copy this. And so we go back to Nashville, guys, how do we get this? All of your permitting people in one spot. This is fantastic. And the folks in Nashville are no, we copied this from you, right? You guys have a development resource center. You have all of the people who touch land permitting in one spot. And we realized, yeah, we did. Chattanooga had taken all the people who touch land permitting, and they put them in one building. And the people in Nashville had copied that and taken all the people who do land permitting and taken one from each department and put them in one place for the customer. They'd created a one-stop shop. And when we saw that, we said, this is really great. It's for the customer. We're going to bring this back to Chattanooga, and we're not going to just reduce the barriers that make permitting hard. We're going to make permitting really awesome. We're going to take this as an opportunity to delight the customer. And so something happened in Chattanooga. It moved to Nashville, and now we're copying it back. And each time something new was created.
So what do you have that someone else should steal? Okay, good. This makes me feel like there's some things out there. Is it a permitting process that's really awesome? Is it a space in your community that you've designed that you're really proud of?
No, but seriously, think about it right now. We're not important. Think about it. Think about what you have to steal.
Okay, does everybody have it? Okay, I want you to reach under your chair, and there's a note card there. And I want you to take this note card and take 30 seconds and write this idea down. And when you're done, hold it up like this. And Michael and I are going to do the same thing. Okay, so when you're finished, hold it up for us. Congratulations, we have one finisher. Okay, now more. Here we go. Okay, I want you to take your card and look 2 or 3 seats away from you to somebody that you don't know. Hand them your card, make eye contact with them, shake their hand, and remember that person, because later we want you to find them and ask them about this idea, because it's okay to steal. Hey, Eric.
Someone you don't know.
Oh, it's okay. Here. Good. Okay. Good. There's a lot of sharing. There's a lot of stealing happening. This is awesome.
And when you've got that new thing, take a seat back down. Awesome ideas to be stolen from one person to the other to create something new. And what you guys just did, and what we hope you go and find that person later and continue to do, that copying in order to create. That's how Alex and I met. In fact, we've only met once before. We met when Alex came down to steer a little White House initiative called Tech Hire.
So the White House took advantage of a big opportunity, and that was IT jobs. There are more IT jobs available today than there ever have been before. And these aren't just your traditional tech jobs. These jobs exist in hospitals, and they exist in nonprofit organizations, and they even exist in manufacturing facilities, which the Southeast knows all about. And the cool thing is, these jobs aren't just available to people with 2- and 4-year degrees anymore. It's available to people with the aptitude and the skills to do this work, and all they need is training in between. So this is what Tech Hire did. It's actually really simple. They realized that there are communities all over the country that are already doing this work. Denver, Chattanooga, Austin, San Francisco, Lynchburg.
Woo!
Okay, yeah. We're doing this work already. So what we're doing in Lynchburg is we're taking workforce development and we're flipping it over. So instead of relying on 2- and 4-year training programs for all of our citizens to be employable, we are looking at what jobs are open now based on data from our employers, and we're training people in 3 to 6 months to fill open jobs now instead of jobs that may be open in the future.
So they asked us to come here and talk about Tech Hire. We want to talk about what Tech Hire is. Tech Hire is facilitated copying. It's a new way of making cities work. So let's break it down a little bit. They started by defining a big problem. Employers had a giant number of open jobs, and they didn't have the people to get their business done. So what do? They found the fragmented fixers. They knew that folks in Chattanooga were doing it. They knew that folks in St. Louis were doing it. They knew that folks in San Francisco, in Boston, in LA were doing it. And they connected us together through a community of learning. We have weekly phone calls. We share documents back and forth. As we make commitment cards for different employers, it says, let's just share this all around. They made copying really easy. And most importantly, they gave us the permission to steal. Because every mayor wants to launch something new. We have a society that is obsessed with all of us spending all this time applying for these new idea programs so that 1 or 2 of us can win some money. And what they did facilitated copying as they gave us permission to steal from each other and create something new as a community.
So what TechHire is really leaning into is the fact that copying can be a creative act. We can create something new together when we copy what already works.
So here's some folks who have done it really well. Guys who work in stat programs. How many of you guys have heard of CompStat and CityStat before? Good, interesting. So CompStat, Bill Bratton, he's back in the news, and it started up in New York City, okay? And what he did was Bratton and Maple got together and they said, what if we started using data to drive performance in policing? We're gonna look at numbers, we're gonna figure out what's going on, we're gonna set some objectives, we're gonna look at those numbers again and see how we can change them and experiment. And they drove crime down in New York City, and it worked. And soon, all over the country, police were doing the CompStat model. 6 years later, a guy named Martin O'Malley comes onto the scene, and he's a mayor. He is not a chief of police, but he says, this is really great, a stat model, data-driven performance management. We can do this too. And so he copied it, and he put it in his city, and he called it CityStat. And pretty soon, he got really great results. They started with potholes, and they filled potholes faster than anyone had ever filled them before. They made government accountable and open. And it was great. So all the other cities around the country, thousands of them, started opening up their own stat models. The thing is, though, is it didn't look like this. It didn't look like a bunch of the same dots all over the place. Because copying wasn't just stamping. It wasn't just duplicating. It was an act of creation. And so, stat models, both police stat models and city stat models, now federal stat programs, they look like this. This is what the country looks like. They're different in Memphis. We get on a phone call with them in Chattanooga every other month. They're different in Atlanta. We went down to visit their stat program. Their mayor doesn't even show up. Instead, they have leaders from each department show up and talk about what they're doing with performance management. It's a shared collaborative. In Chattanooga, our Chatta Data program is we have the mayor there with his top administrators. It's a monthly meeting. In New Orleans, it's completely different. They don't do the whole city at once. They do 6 focused areas. And so what was happening was as they copied from city to city and place to place, some were copying from the original, some were copying from copies to copies. It was different leaders in different cities with different cultures making it their own.
So here's the cool thing. You don't have to feel bad about copying because it's already happening. And these are the organizations that are making it happen. White House initiatives like TechHire, where we are joined together, 31 communities, talking about what works for us and what doesn't work for us. It's okay to steal. It's okay to copy something that someone else is doing because it works. Things like the peer convenings that the HUD National Resource Network puts on. These are where they identify individuals who are doing this work in communities all across America. They bring them together, and they just talk. The same thing. They talk about what works, what doesn't work, what's been hard, what's been really easy. There are things like communities of learning that the National League of Cities does, and they identify communities like Chattanooga that's doing things really well. Chattanooga has the fastest internet in the Western Hemisphere. That's great. Cities like Atlanta are coming to visit them. Cities like Nashville are coming to say, how can we do this? And finally, there's the good old-fashioned city exchange. So I packed up my team about 6 months ago, put them in the car, and we drove to Chattanooga. And I said, you guys, I'm real sorry, but we're going to go stay in a hostel with no doors, and it's going to be okay. And they didn't believe me, and they didn't trust me, and they said, we like doors, we like a closet, we don't like a bunk bed. But I took them anyway. And the thing is, you can learn better in person than you ever can over a phone call or over an email, and that's how Michael and I got to know each other, and that's how TechHire became an initiative that is Lynchburg is Virginia's very first TechHire community. So we're laying the groundwork for Virginia, and hopefully we're laying the groundwork for Roanoke to join us. So somebody that you meet here today that has a great idea, get in the car and go drive and go visit them.
So what we want to argue for is not starting with a blank canvas. No city is a blank canvas. Don't start with that blank piece of paper. When you're ready to create something new, think about starting here, or 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 here. There are great cities. Think about starting right here, right now. So go copy, Go create something new. Thank
Do
you
it
very
now.
much.